Alright, so we're going to be doing just a motor replacement for the AirCurve 10 for ResMed. Pretty sure probably the layout is the same when it comes to like the ResMed AirSense 10, probably 11. But nevertheless though, so the water tank you're gonna have to take off, which is this thing right here. You're gonna take this out right there, and then the only screws underneath the machine that you're gonna have to remove are the two here. The ones on the side, they may be different for your AirSense or AirCurve, but you may have to take these four off either. They're different sizes too. The screws are for each side. One is a little bit longer. Two of them are longer, I believe, and four of them are shorter. Then there's two down here at the back part where the serial number might be at for the device, as well as the power part of it. So those are the only two, technically, at least for the AirCurve 10, that require them to be taken off. Now that's not to say that you might have to take all the screws off, but just be careful though when you do. You're going to also need a T10 type of screw or bit to take these off, because these are not Phillips screws, or a flathead screw. They are a T10 screw. Yeah. So real quick, this here is what the motor looks like if you have an AirCurve 10 and maybe the AirSense 10 from ResMed. These motors, they run approximately close to $100 on Amazon, and this one was actually purchased off of Amazon, this here motor, and I believe this motor has failed. So because the motor will will start to work and then the machine just shuts down. So hoping it's just a motor issue with that. So ended up getting a new motor over here. So hopefully this new motor will fix that. Also, the links are in the description and all that stuff where you can find the motors and stuff. Then there's this toolkit that I'm using. It's just a small, cheap toolkit. It actually has the T10 bit for being able to remove the screws. So if you are looking for an inexpensive bit, it's down in the description of the video, where you can purchase it from Amazon and all that good stuffies. And you'll be able to take this apart, the machine apart at your own discretion and all that good stuff. So anyways, definitely if it's under warranty, send it back to the company and have them fix it. But if it's not, I guess you have no choice but to try to like fix it yourself. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and start the breakdown of this machine. Now yours may be different, but for this AirCurve 10 at least, the front housing cover does snap off though in the front, which I'll probably leave this on for now though, mainly because there is some stuff in the front I don't want to touch. And by the way, it's probably best to use anti-static gloves. So I'm going to be right back, and we're going to start taking these screws right here out. I call them screws, but they're T10s, and then the ones back here as well. Alright, so we're going to take the first couple of T10s out. As I said before, there's shorter ones, so don't mix them up. These two on the one side, at least for the AirCurve 10, are going to be short ones. As you can see, they're very short. And then there's one back here in the back where the plug-in for the power goes in. There's one there, and as I said, I'm saying there's one, and I use that word loosely because it's going to be different for yours, probably. It's a different machine. This is a longer one that's going to go in the back, and then the other side also has one that's a longer screw in the back. Now the 4, as I said, that I'm not going to remove, at least for the AirCurve 10. That's where the heating element and all that stuff is to heat up the water, which is this side here. I don't have to take that off for this machine at all, so I'm not really worried about that. And then behind this cover is going to be 2 T10s as well once you are able to pry the front of it off, like so. Put that off to the side for her machine, and as I said, there are now 2 more T10 screws in there. This button does come off as well. It just kind of just like lifts off of it. Just don't pry it too much because you don't want to break these pieces right here off, and then it won't stay on. So we'll be right back to take these screws out, and then we're going to be prying the back part of this casing off and then getting to where the motor is. Alright, so we're going to take these 2 front T10 screws off this machine here. These are probably going to be short ones as well. I definitely recommend you use anti-static band, because that's another long screw that's going to go in the front. And then normally I keep these all in a nice pile, but because I'm making video and all that stuff, I'll be able to retrace my footsteps. So anyways, 2 longer screws. And now we just got to pry the front housing off very delicately. And I'm not going to tell you that you shouldn't remove all the screws, but I'll just say that I just know for the AirCurve 10 that these 4 screws don't require to be taken off. So I normally start somewhere back here in the back where the actual water tank is. And since I've been working on this thing, it pries off a little easier probably than yours will. There is a ribbon cable behind this area here, so be careful not to damage that area when you go to pry this cover off. So, and it won't pry normally this easy for you at all, so this is like kind of misleading a little bit for you guys. There are little prongs here too that you don't want to break these off, these 4 prongs that will snap into the front on the bottom. You definitely don't want to break them off. And then there's that little ribbon cable, as I said. Be careful with that little bugger right there. And these cables, these power connectors here, you don't want to damage these either. So be careful when you are messing with that. So this right here is the outside housing for that motor, which is where this thing hides at, is inside of this area here. It's also held down by a T10 screw, and then there's a actual cable back behind this side, which this side of the cover comes off for the SD card is and all that stuff. So, and then there's also a 4-pin connector too that's going to be in the front area. So here's this little white cable, so you got to be careful with that when you go to pull this out right here, not to pull it off too hard or any of that stuff so that you end up breaking that cable. So we're going to try to get this thing. Alright, so just be careful when you go to pull this side cover off for your AirCurve 10, because there's a, what you call it, a little circuit board, and normally this won't come off the circuit board, but there's a little areas, little mount areas for that to actually fit on, like right there, and right over there. But because I've been taking this thing apart so much, this is actually what happened. Now this board here, I wouldn't recommend you touch it with your hands because of static discharge and all that stuff. You could damage your board by static discharge and all that stuff. So anyways, that's how easy that came off right there. Just be careful with that little cable and all that good stuff. I'm just gonna leave this over here for now until I get ready to put it back together. Now this little 4-pin connector normally will be connected right yonder. For here, for the motor, is where this would be connected at. But because I don't have the motor in there, because I took this one out, mainly to see if I could fix that motor, it's not in there. So anyway though, that's those parts. I just got to take this T10 screw off the top of here. We'll push these cables out of the way. Almost dropped my tool over there. I'm going to push these cables out of the way just a little bit so we are able to, slide this housing unit out once I get this T10 screw out, and then we'll start disassembling the inside or the outside housing just to so you'll be able to see the inside of where the motor drive goes. And also there is a fish tank over there that's making that noise. This is a longer screw too that goes on the housing for the motor drive. So anyways, be careful though when you go to take this thing apart because of this blue piece that is right there. I'm just going to try to slide these out real quick. There's a little rail back here too that this housing is going to have to slide into this possibly as well, depending on your machine that you have. So take that in mind. I'm doing this as the AirCurve 10, so it may be the same for the AirSense 10 possibly. Don't know though. So, and carefully pull the housing unit out for that. As I said, watch out for these wires here so you don't break them off, because the machine's definitely done unless you know how to solder. So, alright, so I'm working on getting this housing unit out for the motor. There we go. Now this thing is very important to look at too. So this is all that you need to have access to that's really important for the machine. So this little cover here, this little plastic piece is really important on how it faces on when you go to put the thing back together. So this longer piece is going to go into this piece here. It should be facing upward to the top where this blue tube is. You have a bigger one down here, but the smaller one should be facing like that. And this one should go onto this one, and this little part right here should go onto this little pin right there. So it'll sit like that. What's going to happen is there is also that power cord that's going to route inside of here and go around this area here for the motor, so that you can run it to the machine and stuff. So anyways, just wanted to make sure you all knew that stuff, that you knew that ahead of time. So we're gonna go ahead and take off of 3 T10 screws to get access to the housing for the inside of this motor drive area. Alright, so we're going to begin our opening this. My thumb is a little messed up right now, so it's harder to do this. I think I ended up getting tendonitis in my thumb, so I really don't got the grippy for that to turn the screw. So there we go. It's a longer one for the outside, for the housing, for the motor drive housing area. I had these already halfway out. I just put it back together while I was waiting for the new motor to arrive and all that good stuff. So that's another long screw is what that is. And then it's another long one right there. Don't be kind of reckless like I am, just toss them around. So we're gonna pull this little cover here off like so, and there's that little foam piece that's gonna go on top of this area here. So basically the way that this fits is this little foam piece fits right here. We're actually the motor wire is gonna go right here too. So, but this is how you want these things to be facing, and then they go inside of there to suck the air out into the machine. So there's these little tabs right here. You can see them, right? These have to line up correctly. So these two are going to have to line up with the hole on this part here, because this part right here is going to pull out. But anyways, though, we're going to get this out of here real quick. Make sure that you pull this piece into the side of there. So there's a little silicone piece right here that holds the motor from having too much vibration, is what my assumption is for that. So anyways, these little pieces here, you kind of just have to kind of push them in a little bit, and they'll go in like that. See how like these two are going to have to go back into this area. You want to match them all up when you go back to putting them together, though. Well, reassembly, I should say. So that's it for that piece right there. The motor is going to go into this piece here now, and then we got to reassemble everything. So I'm going to show you the motor, which is going to be the longest part of putting this back together. So we'll be right back. Alright, so this yonders is going to be the motor, and here's probably a QR code if you guys are able to scan that right there on how to install it. Even though I'm making this video for you all on how to install it for you. So anyway, though, this is the new motor right here, and it's gonna go pretty much into this silicone housing, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm mistaken, this might have something to do with helping cut down on vibration. I don't really think it matters a whole lot on how this motor goes in, to be honest. But I mean, yeah. So, but the only thing that would kind of probably matter is like where the wiring is. You definitely don't want this wire to be on one of these plastic tabs and stuff. So hopefully where I have this is the double tabs, isn't going to be a problem. I might just end up just turning this a little bit, putting it more in the open area of this silicone housing, like this right here, and just kind of snugly push it into this silicone housing for it. It's like that there. And all that. So that's pretty much how that's gonna go. And then now we just basically gotta put this thing back together again by pushing this piece through this hole right here. Just take my finger and pull it through like that. Normally it's easier to put this stuff through this first before you put it through there, but I change things up a little bit for some reason to make my life harder. And we're going to run this power cord through here because this is going to go into here, and then these wires are going to rest in between this little area here. So we want to make sure that we're rotating this thing so that these two tabbies right there are going into this big area, and then the next tab aligns with this hole and this hole and this hole. So if you were taking the old motor out, you would just, by the way, peel this silicone, but be careful that you don't damage the silicone getting the motor out. And alright, so we're going to go ahead and run this power cord, 4-pin connector, into this thing here. And we want to make sure that our little rubber pieces match up, so they actually need to go this way here. And this wire is going to go pretty much over the top of that. So first, let me go ahead, pull these tabs through real quick. Make sure that they're pulled so that they're all nice and snug, like a bug. Under this cable here, though, is going to go over this part here, though. And then we need this part of the housing over this way. I'm going to pull this part right here through. Just like that. There. Now, putting this back together, this part is going to go right over the top of these wires here, just like this. This is going to be a little bit of a struggle to put this thing, to keep this wire down because it's so new, but we'll manage. I'm going to push this over to the side right here, though. These 3 wires like that, because that plastic piece right here, it again is going to go over these wires right there, as I mentioned before. So this part right here is going to go line up with that hole there. Make sure this isn't going to be not lined up correctly when you go to cover it up. Then we're going to place them 4 screws on afterwards. So cover this up just like this, line them up, press it down, hold it down, and we're going to get our long screws, and then start getting them, what do you call it, started. Not all the way, but we'll do each side a little tightened down at a time for that. We don't want to. Alright, so I have those, all 3 of them T10s screws tightened down. Make sure no gapping, none of that. Now it's a matter of taking these 3 little cables right here, and we want to kind of run these right here up under this little section here, like this here. Be a little bit of a pain, but not too hard up under there. But anyways, this cover, as I said, though, is gonna keep these wires from moving. So that's how it's basically gonna hold them. Originally, just to keep them from showing, like, sticking out and all that stuff. So that, you got to make sure you keep your finger on this, because this is not going to hold, it's going to pop off. So just so you know. So this is going to require you to slide this back into the device now. This part here, you're going to want to make sure you slide it down onto this rail right here. But be careful when you're pushing this through that you don't break these wires here, sliding it through. And then this pin connector right here is going to connect to that pin. Well, anyways, let's see if this is going to work now or not. I don't want the wire to be too short though either, because I've had this happen before where I made the wire too short and stuff. So I'm just going to slide this down here, just like that there. Easier said than done, but I just want to make sure this wire is going to fit too. So hopefully that's going to fit just right on there. I'm going to push this tank back just a little bit more, and we're going to lock down that long screw into keeping this housing unit from moving around and stuff for this machine. This is where like I start to get a little bit annoyed with the AirCurve. So by the way, this is recording with the Metas, just so y'all know. Meta glasses, that's why the quality is like it is, and the lighting for this room is like it is too. It's because the Meta glasses were used to make this video. Kind of give you a POV. Alright, so what we're going to do now here is make sure that this is all lined up correctly with this front board here. The fun part now is going to be, we got to connect this 4-pin connector here. This gives power to the motor. So we're going to need to make sure that we get this pin right here connected. So we're going to connect that right there, and try to tuck these wires back a little bit back there. And the fun part here is now connecting this side plate with this board that kind of controls like the what do you call it, the SD card and all that stuff. So that's the fun part. So in the beginning of the video, I was talking to you about how like you have to line these up. There's little mounts for them to sit on like that. The tricky part here lies sometimes is lining this little pin up with this short wire, and you got to be really careful with this because of the fact that it's a short wire. So you have to kind of, this is going to be a part that is going to be hard for me probably to do on video, but you have to kind of get it as close as you can, like that, and then you have to kind of rotate this really gently and try not to break those wires, because if you do, man, your machine is done for. Anyways, these little pins right here, there's one here and one over there and one in the middle. They need to go underneath the gapping for the, what do you call it? The, make sure these wires are out of the way too. I want to pinch these down. They need to go under the legs of the motor drive housing. So be careful when you go to do this. This is like one of the ones I hate doing the most and stuff over here. So I just kind of want to try to push this in there. Sometimes I believe it's easier just to do that when the what you call it, the motor drive housing is a little bit more loose, but I managed to get it, so it's alright. There we go. Hopefully these wires are out of the way though, because they don't look like they are. Alright, so the next part is to put the housing cover on to the face of this cover on there, and then you can put the two screws that are right here in the front on it. I'm hoping the lighting was half decent for this installation, because it's a one-time take e-bobber for making this video and stuff. So I mean, I could probably redo it, but probably not. Alright, so we're going to lift this up to the front of the device. Be careful when you're doing this. Watch your fingers. You don't want to pinch them with the housing unit. Not really a fun feeling to have that done to your fingers if you do that. And then these little pins right here are going to snap in to those holes in the front right here. So just like that there. Should be all put together on that part right there. Now we need to get these screws here. So we're going to need 2 long ones for the front. And then 2 for the back under the side where the serial number was. And then the 2 short ones for underneath. And then the button. So we're going to do all that still, so don't worry. We're almost there, Gus, even though I have to piece this together from metaglasses because it stretches the video out too. So I got these 2 here I got to do and 2 in the back, and then button and this face cover, and that's pretty much all I have left. And then we're going to test it. So hope you all enjoyed the video though, and you're able to get your device working until you're able to get a new one. Buy you a little bit of time on that whole thing, because these are not cheap at all to buy unless you got good insurance. Alright, so I'm going to get some distilled water in this machine, and then we're going to get it plugged in and all that good stuff. So real quick, this is just the face cover of the machine. It just pretty much just snaps to the front. Well, you definitely want to put the button on first. That's an important thing to do. I found that out the hard way myself. Just press this button on here. It's gonna be rough like I am with it. Here we go. Because once you put this cover on, you can't put the button on, because this is a groove area right here. Kind of fits underneath here to give it flush. So there we go. Just a little snap like that there, and we're all back together again. So now what we're gonna do is get a little bit of distilled water to put inside of this container here, and then we're gonna plug it in and see what's the deal. Alright, so we're gonna connect the power over there. I got my wife's hose all crazy over here and stuff. See what we got over here. ResMed. Should still get that message about the kind of air connected SD cardy. Yeah, okay. So you're still gonna get this motor extended contact provider regardless, even when you change the motor. It's never gonna go away. It's gonna keep showing up, and it's gonna end up showing up more frequently as well. We're gonna see how all this motor works and if it shuts down or if it fixed it from what was happening. It's probably gonna shut down because I don't have a mask on, so there might be too much what do you call it, airflow or something like that. So I mean, it looks like it's good, dude. I mean, it looks like it's not having the problems it was having. It's very quiet too. The motor is. So it is blowing air and it's working again. I like this motor a little bit better though. The other one was good too, but yeah. So anyways though, that's pretty much it though. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and now I have to go struggle putting this all together with metaglasses and stuff like that. So that's it though. So anyways, thanks for watching. Later. Subscribe though if you like me, or don't subscribe me.